Appalachia is a cultural and geographical region in the eastern United States. It is characterized by its distinct culture, history, and physical features. The region spans several states including parts of West Virginia, Kentucky, Virginia, Tennessee, the Carolinas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Geographically, the Appalachian region is defined by a major mountain range known as Appalachian Mountains and is known for its rugged terrain, rolling hills, valleys, and dense forests. The Appalachian community has a very rich culture that is centered around work ethic, the music and arts, religious traditions, community ties, craftsmanship, heritage and storytelling, and respect for nature. We most commonly see evidence of their culture in, like I say, things such as their music and art, as the Appalachian culture is renowned for its bluegrass, folk, and country style music, which uses traditional instruments such as the banjo and fiddle. As seen in the picture, community ties and building strong relationships are an integral part of the culture in Appalachia. Their harsh working conditions, commonly found in the mines, are something that really brings them together and allows them to build that sense of community within their neighbors. Culture has a great impact on the type of jobs that people will hold in a certain culture because it reflects how they spend their time and their values. In Appalachia, by far, the most prominent jobs are jobs in the mining and energy industry, but people also work in manufacturing, education, agriculture and forestry, as well as tourism and outdoor recreation. I'm sure when most people think of Appalachia, they think of beautiful mountains, rolling hills, as I mentioned earlier, but it's also important to note that Appalachia can also look like this. And with that, we need to go more into the mining industry. The mining history of Appalachia is marked by a long and complex legacy that deeply intertwines the region's socio-economic development with its cultural identity. Early exploration and development of this industry was discovered around the 18th century, and by 19th century, mining had become a significant economic activity in the area. Industrialization and expansion led to large-scale mining operations emerging, attracting workers to the region who were in search of employment. Then there's boom and bust cycles, which just creates an oscillating economy marked by faced layoffs, mine closures, economic hardships for the communities, and labor struggles. You may be wondering, why is it so important that I understand the basis behind the mining industry in Appalachia? Well, that's a good question, because essentially, since this is their major source of occupation in the area and this produces their main export for their economy, it's what inevitably creates the economic disparity in the region. This is what keeps these blue-collar workers at their low-paying jobs that do not require an education, that keeps them isolated from the rest of the country. All of these factors culminate to create just a catastrophic effect for the people of this region, most evidently in their physical health, as people in this region are amongst the highest at risk for things such as cardiovascular disease, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and substance abuse. Due to living paycheck to paycheck with their blue-collar jobs, none of them see education as an option. They can't get out of those jobs. They get stuck in that cycle. Even if they are educated about nutrition, they don't feel that they have the financial resources to do anything and improve their nutrition and their food consumption. As I just mentioned, substance abuse is a huge problem in this area, as they are often a top contender for the state with the most overdoses in the entire country. Year after year, they compete for that spot. And that is just because all these physical ailments that I was just mentioning also lead to depression and anxiety, feeling of isolation, not to mention the economic and financial stress of their jobs, trying to support the families, and just Appalachia as well. There's limited access to mental health services, and there's often a social stigma that comes along with these mental health services that has not been addressed in the area. As unfortunate as it is, Appalachia simply does not have the healthcare infrastructure in place to properly handle the overwhelming number of physical and mental ailment cases that they receive each year. For example, their public transportation is nearly non-existent, so people cannot afford their individualized forms of transportation, such as taking a car, and they also do not have public buses that run to these healthcare facilities to get them the help that they need. It is overwhelmingly clear the impact these power imbalances have had on the people of Appalachia, as the central regulators in the region simply use this place as a site for extraction, and then they disregard the people of the region that actually make that economy possible. Now that we've been able to see a big picture of what Appalachia looks like, let's just take a dive into what some of the smaller components of their culture look like, such as what they eat in their home. Appalachian cooking is typically characterized by 3 simple words: hearty, homestyle, and comfort foods. This is facilitated by the use of a few staple ingredients such as corns, beans, and potatoes. These ingredients have been used across centuries because they are available, versatile, and cheap. Their cooking also typically involves pork and pork products, preserved and canned foods, and as you can see from this, they have limited access to fresh produce given their isolated geographical location. Some of the more common and typical dishes you'll see originate out of this region are biscuits with gravy and sausage, pork barbecue, cornbread, beans, stew, fried chicken, and apple butter. Now we see the use of their common staple ingredients, which are all very good and well. However, these dishes are missing some significant factors of what we would consider a complete and nutritious meal plan, such as the diversity of vegetables, lack of fruits, lack of whole grains, lack of lean protein, dairy and calcium is missing, and especially there is a gap of healthy fats and an excess of processed and sugary foods. Not to mention that now more commonly, fast food is used in place of the traditional home cooking methods that we discussed earlier, and also given that these are blue-collar workers working extremely long hours in extremely harsh conditions, if they are given the option and the availability, they're not going to want to go home and cook for themselves, so they often opt for fast food options, which just adds to the physical and mental health effects that we discussed earlier with high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes and obesity. Fortunately, while the central government may not be doing as much as they can, or there is just many barriers that we do not understand behind why they have not put certain policies in place yet, there are a ton of local organizations that are working on the community level to try to empower these communities to overcome these barriers to their nutrition and their nutritional availability. One of them is one that I've actually personally volunteered for, called Grow Ohio Valley, which aims to improve the health and economic future of the Appalachia region and build a robust and sustainable local food system built by and maintained by the community that can have a positive impact on all of these areas. Local organizations such as this are needed within these communities because whenever you're able to work one-on-one with the locals, it instills a sense of self-confidence and self-efficacy that allows these people to feel that they are capable of changing their circumstances and advocating for themselves. While it is important to shed light on this problem area in Appalachia and to help empower the community members to keep pushing and striving for change and to support the local organizations that are doing their best to do so, there's an urgent need for that to not stop and to only increase, because the people of this region are part of the future of our country, and if we cannot help support their health and mental well-being, then we have failed our future population. And so it's just really important that we honor Appalachia's past, embrace its current state no matter what it is, and then just pave the way for a brighter and healthier future. As a future healthcare professional, it is important to understand both the difference and how the concepts of cultural competence and cultural humility work together, because together these concepts provide tools for establishing an effective relationship with the individuals and communities we serve in order to offer the most effective and impactful healthcare services that we can. But on their own, they do not have nearly as profound of an effect, as cultural competence is simply the ability to understand and interact with people across their cultures, but cultural humility is the lifelong commitment to self-evaluation and critique. So without cultural humility, you simply cannot achieve cultural competence.